Hello, I'm recording this with my new camera. Ooh, oh wow, shit. Glorious 1080p. It's really exciting. Anyways, I thought I'd use this first camera test to talk about something unusual for me. I want to talk about the TV series Game of Thrones. And also the books written by G.R.R. Martin, aka Evil Santa. This is not a big deal, but I can read.
Smoke weed every day.
And I'm just gonna pretend like that's not a big deal. And I've read the 5 books that Gur Martin, as I will call him from now on, has written, which is known as A Song of Ice and Fire, and involves Westeros, and Essos, and other Rose type places that have dragons and
wildlings and white walkers and whatnot.
And it's full of political intrigue and etc. We've just finished season 6, I think. I'm too lazy to check whether that was the number of the season. It probably was. And there's 1 season remaining on Game of Thrones, the TV series. And I gotta say, I think that it sucks now. For at least the past 2 seasons, they've been going off semi-original material that the showrunners, known as D&D, have been writing themselves, I'm assuming. But we do know that Gur Martin gave them key plot points, like who is the parent of this person, or is somebody supposed to die, or who's supposed to sit on the Iron Throne, or what's supposed to happen with the Army of the Dead. So we know that the showrunners know the general plot points about what's supposed to go on in the TV series. But it just sucks. Maybe Gur Martin's upcoming books, Winds of Winter and The Promise of Spring, or whatever it's called, maybe those books are gonna also suck, and so the stuff they're writing for TV now just sucks because the upcoming books are gonna suck. There's been a noticeable and massive dip in the quality of the writing since they stopped going off the source material, which I'm gonna get into now. But before that, I mean, whenever I talk to other Game of Thrones fans, there's always like this appeal to the showrunners, as it seems. They're always like, the showrunners know what they're doing. The showrunners are experts. They know exactly how to run this show. You can't question them. You don't know shit. It's like this appeal to authority about the showrunners, which just irritates me because it's just a way of avoiding any criticism about how the show is going. The only thing that we can say for sure about the showrunners right now is that they're really good at putting together a TV show, like the logistics of it and bringing together the actors, filming it and making it and turning it into a spectacle. They're definitely experts at that. They were really effective and really good at adapting the material that we know that they adapted from the 5 existing books. I think they did a really good job of streamlining that, making that material accessible and enjoyable, and cutting out superfluous things without ruining the story, although there are some things that fans wanted in there that they cut out that they probably could have put in, but that's just nitpicking. Really, I think overall they did a good job at adapting the first 5 books, but we cannot say for sure that they are really good at writing their own stories, or if Gur Martin only gave them this sort of general outline of where things are going to go and key plot points, that they're good at filling in the gaps, because there's been a definite drop in quality, and I want to explain my main grievance with the final episode of Season 8. If you don't watch Game of Thrones or read Game of Thrones, and you care about spoilers, just stop now, because I'm just going to give away the entire plot. There's no point in continuing, just wait for the day when you want to see it. But if you don't care about spoilers, or you've already seen and read everything about Game of Thrones, then let's continue. My number 1 complaint about the season finale of Season 8 Game of Thrones was the death of Littlefinger.
I loved you more than anyone.
And yet you betrayed me. When you brought me back to Winterfell, you told me there's no justice in the world, not unless we make it. Thank you for all your many lessons, Lord Baelish. I will never forget them.
Now, according to the internet, fans celebrated the death of Littlefinger because he's not likable, he's an annoying douche, walks around sounding like Sean Connery and just creeping all the time, and he's a manipulative fuck who no one likes. He's not a good person, no one really wants him around, and all the fans are like, we want Littlefinger to die, let's kill Littlefinger. So then he did die. And how did he die? Well, he died after spending the past 2 seasons basically just standing around in the corner, looking deep, but not really doing anything. And then when he was put in a situation of danger, he had no contingency plan, begging for his life, which failed, and then he died. To me, how it played out was just a great illustration of why I think the writing in Game of Thrones is really shit now. In the books and earlier on in the TV show, Littlefinger is presented as a political mastermind, as a shrewd political genius, modeled on the ideas of Machiavelli and so forth. We see him manipulating people from the shadows, and Varys, who is another character who's an incredible manipulator and genius at the whole political game, says,
Perhaps you'll laugh, but I know him better than most, and this is the truth. Littlefinger is one of the most dangerous men in Westeros.
Throughout the parts of the series which are adapted from the books, we see him doing subtle plans.
I did warn you not to trust me.
And we're always wondering what he's up to, because he's kind of a snake, and eventually he helps to assassinate Joffrey Lannister.
I don't understand. The Lannisters gave you wealth, power. Joffrey made you the Lord of Harrenhal.
A man with no motive is a man no one suspects.
Always keep your foes confused. If they don't know who you are or what you want, they can't know what you plan to do next.
And then manages to take Sansa Stark away from King's Landing and goes to the Vale, where he manages to politically manipulate people into making him the Lord of the Vale. So he's got power. And all of this was building up from his machinations early in the series. And you're like, okay, it was a massive douche move to betray Ned Stark, and it probably wasn't that intelligent because the Starks are going to want revenge against him for that eventually. But I'm sure he's aware of that. And maybe the fact that he was in love with Catelyn Stark was one of the reasons why he did that betrayal, so there was some emotionality involved. But we can kind of understand why he did it, because we can usually understand what he's doing in the context of when Gur Martin writes it. But after he's done all these machinations, eventually he shows up to rescue Jon Snow in the Battle of the Bastards and helps to defeat Ramsay Bolton. And is instrumental in taking back Winterfell. And then after he's done all of these different machinations, and you're like, oh, this Littlefinger guy, you know, he's one to watch out for. He spends the rest of the 2 seasons basically just standing around, like sort of whispering in the ear of Sansa, trying to cast doubt and sow the seeds of division between her and other individuals and try to make her rely on him, but none of it is effective. And he's basically just stagnating. He's just staying in Winterfell, doing nothing. Every time you see him, he's just standing by the wall, being like, I'm Littlefinger, yeah. Got nothing going on, I'm just standing around. Where is the political manipulator? Like, where's the person who's always got plans on the run, who wants to eventually take over the realm? He's nowhere to be seen. And when Arya Stark finally shows up and comes back to Winterfell, Littlefinger's like, oh no, I could be in trouble. I can't talk like him. I'm going to sow doubt between Sansa and Arya. So then he does that by planting a letter which Arya finds, and then the sisters get in a fight. And he's like, haha, I've solved the mystery. I'm a master at this political game. Now I can just do nothing and sit around. But first, I'm going to go talk to Sansa and, in a very overt and obvious way, say that Arya wants to become the Lady of Winterfell, even though he should easily be aware of the fact that Arya doesn't want to be a lady and has no interest in ruling, so why would she want that?
And after she murders you, what does she become?
Lady of Winterfell.
Obviously she doesn't want that. So when the time comes for Sansa to put Arya on trial, she's just like, you know what, I'm just going to put Littlefinger on trial for all of his machinations and the fact that he killed my aunt and I've got a lot of dirt on him. And then Littlefinger's like, oh no, I have zero contingency plans and I put myself in an extremely vulnerable situation and now I'm going to die. Why do I suck so much? And the fans liked it. Because we don't like Littlefinger, we're glad that he died. All I saw was fan service. We've got too many actors. The fans don't like this character, let's kill him off. Whereas I don't know what all the point of the build-up was of him being a political genius if he would just spend 2 seasons standing around in Winterfell, only try about 2 things to actually increase his power in any way, and then be put in a situation where he had no contingency plan, no ability to defend himself, and just got killed.
I am Lord Protector of the Vale, and I command you to escort me safely back to the Eyrie.
I think not.
Sansa, I beg you.
It's lazy writing, it completely destroyed the point of the character of Littlefinger, and it just makes me think that, like, the showrunners don't know how to write the character, or maybe Gur Martin in the following books is gonna decide, you know what, for no reason whatsoever, Littlefinger is just gonna become a total moron and die. Because I can't be fucked making him an intelligent person anymore. I don't know what it is, but it's just terrible writing, and it sucked. And it's just depressing to see them kill off characters you don't like, even though it's completely out of character for him to die in that way. It doesn't make any sense. And I even thought, like, in the Battle of the Bastards, Jon Snow, in that fight against Ramsay Bolton, was put in situations that were so dangerous and ridiculous that I don't think there's any way that he would have survived that actual battle to then be able to get into the castle and somehow defeat Ramsay Bolton so that he could be put in a situation where he'd be eaten alive by rabid dogs, just as, again, fan service. But that's the thing that's lost, is that Gur Martin didn't used to put characters in situations or write them in ways where it was absurd to believe that they would actually get out of that. Like, they would probably just die. So the difference between the smart characters and the stupid characters would be the smart characters would avoid putting themselves in situations where they would get killed, and that's how they would win the game. The stupid characters would end up putting themselves in situations where they could get killed, for example, Robb Stark. And even then, in Gur Martin's original writing, I didn't find the Robb Stark story to be particularly realistic, so to speak, within the internal logic of the series. Surely a boy who was raised to just believe in honor would not just foolishly give up on his oath, break that oath, if we say that he could do that.
It's not as exciting as secret passion in the woods, but it is stronger. It lasts longer.
And that is what would be in store for me with one of Walder Frey's daughters. What you and Father had.
Why not? Because she's not beautiful? Because she's not exotic and exciting?
No, you're arguing just to argue. Because you arranged it.
And you agreed to it.
Even though he wants to be king and he knows he needs these alliances, to then just put himself in a room with the Freys, who he betrayed, and give them the opportunity to just massacre him and all of his men, is the next level of stupidity. And yes, I know they had protocols for when visitors come, and he didn't expect that to happen. But he also knows that his father was betrayed, and that these people are snakes. Or at least he should be aware of that. So even in Gur Martin's original writing, like, there are some situations where characters put themselves in danger for no reason. But it seems to be taken to the next level on the show, whether it's Jon Snow running into battles and surviving for no particular reason, or Littlefinger being put to death and having no contingency plan. I had to go make some pizza, but I'm back. And putting aside that complaint about Littlefinger, which was my largest complaint of the season, Cat, a lot of people had complaints about the way that the characters were moving around this season. There was a funny meme about people quick traveling to the wall just because everyone needs to get to the wall, and then the characters are zooming around and moving around Westeros, which is apparently a huge amount of distance, so quickly that it's just absolutely absurd and ridiculous that they could possibly move around this much unless the showrunners just constantly cutting time out and not showing you that they did that, so they're just playing around with the timeline. That was definitely irritating because I think when Gur Martin was writing these books, he took special care about where the characters were located in the world. He wanted the world to seem realistically large, and in order to do that would keep track of like where the characters were, and you would never be surprised by a character suddenly being in a completely different place for the sake of the plot than they were supposed to be. You wouldn't have heard from them in the narrative for some time, and then they would appear in a place where you didn't expect them to be. And in your mind, you'd say, well, I haven't seen that character for a long time, so it kind of makes sense that they're showing up now. They must have been traveling or something. But now that it seems like the showrunners have no idea what the fuck they're doing, characters are just zipping around all over the place, zippy-doo-dah, everywhere. And it cheapens it, like, and it's kind of silly and it's a running joke. But that is not actually my main complaint. Like, that is a nitpick and is annoying, and it could say something deeper about the series, but I think the thing that really stands out is the fact that the characters do not act in ways that make sense based on how the character has been developed to that point. There's also the fact that the Sand Snakes from Dawn, who had been built up for a few seasons, just randomly got killed off because the showrunners knew the fans didn't like them. You know, they were very unpopular, and that was the showrunners' fault for the way that they wrote them and for the way that they developed them. So they're like, we have to kill off these characters nobody likes because we wrote them badly and we developed them badly. Whereas you could have tried to make those characters better instead of just having some random dude, Euron Greyjoy, who in the books is a lot more interesting, and he's more like this mystical pirate man with an eye patch and dark hair, and he's quite mysterious. In the TV series, he's just this stupid thug.
I'm going to build that fleet, and I'm going to gallivant right over and give it to Daenerys Targaryen, along with my big cock.
They would just, like, get him in there and kill the Sand Snakes. Like, whatever, who cares? We're not even trying anymore. But again, some of the fans were like, we like this. And I just think for a series like Game of Thrones, the fact that they're just killing off unlikable characters for its own sake, rather than as, like, a natural progression of the storyline, because it seems like they don't know where they are going besides the final few plot twists, that cheapens the entire experience, and that is why Game of Thrones has just been, like, really disappointing for me recently. And I know I'll get a bunch of people who are basically, like, apologists for the showrunners saying, you don't know what you're talking about, they're the experts, they know exactly what's going on. But, like, when I watch a TV series and the writing seems like shit, it's just really easy to see that. And I really miss the Game of Thrones where characters are put in situations and things that you didn't really know that they were thinking, or schemes that they had, come to light, and it really surprises you. And the characters that don't have those things because they don't have the skills to play the Game of Thrones end up getting mangled and killed, like Ned Stark, and now, stupidly, like in the TV series, Littlefinger, even though he should never have been in that situation, because they just didn't know how to write him. And building up characters to have completely pointless deaths, which are not pointless because of the actions of the characters, but just literally pointless because they didn't know what to do with the actor and they didn't know what to do with the character, so they just killed them. And I think we'll really see in Winds of Winter and the following book whether it's the fault of the showrunners or whether it's the fault of George Martin's ideas for where the series goes, but I could not picture him writing it this terribly. In that final scene where the Ice Dragon shows up and destroys a huge section of the wall and the army of the dead comes walking through, I was basically like, for me, that was a moment of triumph. Because I'm so sick of these characters, I'm so sick of their stupid decisions, I'm so sick of all the dumb crap that they do that they didn't do in the books, that I'm just like, yeah, Army of the Dead, come in and just fucking kill everybody, because I don't even care who wins the Game of Thrones anymore. Tyrion is still likable, because he's Tyrion. I'm kind of sick of Jon Snow. All he ever talks about is the Army of the Dead, so he should just go fight them and get killed.
The only thing standing between us and the Army of the Dead is the wall, and the wall hasn't been properly manned in centuries. Your Grace, everyone you know will die before winter's over if we don't defeat the enemy to the north.
Bran saw the Night King and his army marching towards Eastwatch. If they make it past the wall...
Cersei, I don't have a problem with Cersei because she is consistently vicious and cruel. But now that the Army of the Dead's coming, like, who really cares who she kills? Because everyone's gonna die anyways. Daenerys is a drain. I mean, I just don't really care about any of the characters anymore. I want the Army of the Dead to kill all of them. That's just what I want. And finally, I'll just say on the showrunners, I think that the test of whether these guys are actually really good writers in their own right, or whether they're just good at adapting things, are the upcoming series that they're going to be working on. But time will tell about how much of this shitty writing is their fault when we get the Winds of Winter and the other book. And like, George Martin is old, and he's taking so long to write Winds of Winter. I seriously do not see how he is going to complete this series. I hope the final season is entertaining in the sense that everybody dies. And if that happens, I'll be satisfied, and everybody gets completely destroyed and turns into a zombie, and then just nuke it, and it's done. Also, the scene with Bran Stark in that last episode was so cringy.
Jon isn't really my father's son. He's the son of Rhaegar Targaryen and my aunt Lyanna Stark. He was born in a tower in Dorne. His last name isn't really Snow. It's Sand.
He's not.
Robert's rebellion was built on a lie. Rhaegar didn't kidnap my aunt or rape her.
And the next season could just be one episode. It could just be Bran saying what happens. And then you don't even need to show it. Like, he just says what happens, and then bam, credits roll. Because you know. But yeah, I mean, I've lost faith in the series, so I'm just looking forward to the books. This has been my new camera, and a big ramble about Game of Thrones. I'm going to finish watching Iron Fist, which I actually think is better than I've seen a lot of people saying. It seems to be on the internet, which means you can just discount my whole opinion because a lot of people hate that series, but maybe the ending will be really bad. People hate the main character in that. I apologize. Thank you.